Hi, this is Analytics, and welcome to another lesson. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. Let's get started. In this video, we're going to learn the main difference between M functions in Power Query and DAX functions in Power BI. As we have learned from previous videos, DAX functions work in Power BI, while M functions are functions from the M language. So in this video, I'm going to clarify that, and we're going to use this file, sales and products. I'm going to load it in Power Query. You already know how to do it. I'm going to use Power Query in Power BI for the best possible example. The table is now loaded in Power Query. I have the first row that was supposed to be the column headers were not recognized by Power Query, so I'm going to use first rows as headers. And there you go. Now Power Query didn't recognize the data types. I'm going to select the first and then hold Shift and select the last column, and the Transform tab, I'm going to ask Power Query to detect the data types, which it did successfully. Now I'm going to run a little grouping here, and if you still don't understand the concept of grouping, please watch our video on grouping. It's a very crucial concept that you have to master before you can go on with your learning of DAX functions or Power BI or Power Query or anything related to data. You have to understand the concept of iteration, grouping, and aggregation. And we have a series of 3 videos exploring these concepts that you have to understand. So I'm assuming you already fully understand what is grouping, so I can proceed with the example in this video. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to transform this full table into a summarized table in which I want to return the total sales amount by manufacturer. So the total sales amount by manufacturer. I'm going to use the group by button, and what I want to do, I want to run grouping by manufacturer. So the manufacturers are going to be my groups. I want to call this new column, I'm going to call it total sales. I'm going to use the sum as the mathematical operation I need, and I'm going to sum up the values in the sales amount column. And there you go. Now I have my group table. The data types are correct. In this column, I need it to be text and decimal numbers in the second column. And I'm going to call this table, I'm going to call it M table, okay? Because we created this table, this grouping with the M language and M functions. Of course, like I said, we didn't have to write the M codes, but look, everything we did was converted into M language, M codes automatically by Power Query, okay? So when we use the button to group up our data, there's a function here called Table.Group, and inside that function, we have a lot of arguments to make that function work. We only didn't have to write it manually, but the function is there working properly. Okay, so I wanted to notice that only because you did not write the function manually, it doesn't mean there is not a function working in the backstage. So the functions are there, only you did not have to write them. Okay, so before we move forward, let me make a copy of this table. I'm going to right click and duplicate this table, but only I should have duplicated it before summarizing it. So what I need to do to correct that, I'm just going to remove the grouped row steps. I'm going to remove it, so I'm going to have the table before it was grouped, because I grouped the first one here in Power Query, and I'm going to group up the second one in Power BI. So I need to move the entire data over into Power BI before I can make the same summarization there, only now I'm going to use a DAX function, a set of DAX functions instead of the M functions. I'm going to call this table DAX table. There you go. And now I'm going to click the Home tab, close and apply. So I'm going to move both tables into Power BI. Now both of my tables are in Power BI. I can see them here. And I'm going to, just to show the data in Power BI, before I show any data in Power BI, I have to insert some of the Power BI visuals. In this case, I'm going to use a table visual. This is not my actual table. This is not my real table. It's just a visual that looks like a table. Actually, my tables are here. If you click the table view, these are my tables. This is the data I'm working with. But here in the report view, I'm using a visual that looks like a table. So it's a table visual. It's not the table itself, okay? And actually, I'm going to use, let me just do Control-C and Control-V because I want 2 copies of the same table. In this first table, I'm going to, table visual, I'm going to bring manufacturer and total sales. Please, if you don't understand a lot about Power BI, I don't want you to worry about creating the visuals. We're going to study all that in this course in detail. I'm just wanting you to look at the difference between how the M functions will work and how the DAX functions are working. I don't want you to worry about how to create the visuals and how to create the DAX function I'm about to create in a few seconds, because this is not the scope of this class. I just wanted to focus on the main difference that I'm going to show you in a few seconds, but we are going to learn all that as we move forward in this course. Let me increase the size of the letters, and okay, I'm going to delete this one, and then now I'm going to copy and paste because the size of the letters is already larger, and now I only have to remove the data from inside the table. Okay, now I'm going to do the same with this table right here, only instead of using the M table, now I'm going to use the DAX table, and I'm going to use again the manufactured column, but I still don't have a column for the sum of the sales for each, but I still don't have the sales total for each of the manufacturers like I have here. So I calculated it in the M language in Power Query for this table, but not for this table. So I have to create a calculation, to create a measure in Power BI to fill this blank, to create a second column right here that's going to bring me the total sales for each manufacturer. So to do that, as I'm working in Power BI, I'm not using the M language anymore. I'm using the DAX language. So I'm going to create this calculation in DAX. And again, I want you to worry about understanding the formula that I'm going to create right now. I just wanted to focus on the result. And we are going to study the DAX functions in detail, okay? So I'm going to right click on the table title and create a new measure. And I'm going to call this measure total sales, and I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it grouping table, and I'm going to use the summarize function, which does exactly the same grouping as we did in Power Query. I'm going to start with the name of the table that I want to summarize, which is the DAX table, the name of the column with the content that are going to be my groups, which is DAX table manufacturer. I'm going to give it a new name, which is total sales. And the operation that I want is the sum of the DAX table and the sales amount column. Okay, there you go. And let me try to organize it so it will look better. Okay, don't worry about this formula. And now I want to return the sum of this grouping table, and the column that I want to return is total sales. Okay, there you go. Now I have my calculation created, and I'm going to bring it over to my second table. And as you can see, I'd remove the totals. As you can see, the values are exactly the same. This is my table based on DAX functions, and this is based on M functions. So you can see that the summarization is the same. My totals per group are the same, only there's a very important difference, and that's the biggest difference between working with the functions in M and the functions in DAX language. because if I insert a slicer here, and in the slicer, I'm going to use the date, and look, this is the most important point. If I change my data frame, at the same time as I change my data frame, the DAX function will recalculate the totals. It is recalculated real time because the calculation is created in Power BI and not in Power Query. The same doesn't happen with the M language because these values came straight from Power Query. So I can't change them real time in Power BI because the calculation was not created in Power BI. It was done in Power Query. So if I'm working with the DAX function, I can create, recreate, and recalculate anything real time. And as your dashboard user interacts with your dashboard, so everything will be recalculated instantly. It doesn't happen with the data that you're bringing over from Power Query. So if you want to change your data frame in Power Query, you have to go back. Then you have to search for the previous step before your grouping. And then you can now change your data type. You can, for example, deselect a few dates and then hit OK. Now your table was decreased, and then now you have to close and apply again. So your new changes will affect this table right here. So it's just not feasible. But with DAX functions, you can do it real time. So the best way to work would be combining Power Query and Power BI DAX functions and M functions in such a way that in Power Query, you will shape your data the best possible way, start working with DAX functions. So in Power Query, you do all the consolidation, all the data cleansing, and then you will leave the table as clean and beautiful as possible. So Power BI and the DAX language will take it from there. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Please leave a comment below. Your comments will help us get more relevance and have YouTube deliver our content to more people. See you in the next video.